Hi everybody, and welcome to this week's Facebook Live on Healing Your Concussion, and this is Dr. Joanny Liu. I'm a best-selling author and founder of Extraordinary Sports Medicine, where we help athletes reverse their injuries, get back in the game they love, and improve the quality of their lives. So I'm going to be talking about Star Trek, and I'm waiting for a bunch of people to jump on because, well, it's Star Trek's 50th anniversary this year, and I was just a kid when I started watching it, and it's always held my imagination since then. So the thing is that I think one of the reasons why it's so long-lived is that Star Trek is all about an optimistic point of view about mankind, that we can deal with the situations that come to us, difficult ones even, especially difficult ones, that we can overcome whatever it is that is bothering us and get there on the other side much improved. And that really is the reason why I love Star Trek and why it continues to be a favorite show of mine. And I love going to all their movies and things like this, okay? So this is the reason why Star Trek is so important for our well-being, because there are a number of wellness factors from Star Trek that we can take from the show, okay? So the first one is the Prime Directive. The Prime Directive in Star Trek basically comes down to this. It means that you have to leave people alone with whatever they have, because they have what they have and they're at their, I guess what you can call point of, at whatever point they are in their lives, and you cannot interfere. So the Prime Directive is about non-interference. In their case, it was especially if people didn't have warp speed, okay? So they had to go about their own lives and try to develop into who they are by themselves. So really, from a spiritual point of view, it really is about minding your own business, okay? And just taking what you've got for yourself and allowing other people to live their lives as they see fit, even when it's really painful, okay, to watch. But the thing is that they've got to go through what they got to go through, just like you have to go through what you have to go through, because obviously you don't enjoy people telling you what to do, right? And I think that's true for most of us. And the thing is that if you're going to take advice from people, you also have to be very careful about who you're taking advice from, because if they have elevated to where you want to be, then definitely you should be following their advice. On the other hand, you've also got to be aware of how you feel about them, whether you actually feel that what they're telling you actually makes you feel good or relieved, because that's really important too. And you've got to do some soul searching on your own about what you want in your life, because again, the Prime Directive is about non-interference. So you not interfering with other people, but you have to focus on your own issues and try to resolve them, okay? So the second success principle from Star Trek is resistance is futile. And of course, it's always the Borg that's saying that, and they were the major bad guys, okay, in Star Trek, especially in Next Generation and all the other following series, except for the original series and Enterprise. But the thing is that the Borg definitely were a real pain in the backside for Star Trekkers, and they were considered to be dangerous. But as time went on, I could actually see that what they represented was something which should have made you think, because what are we all resisting? we are always resisting something. The thing about resistance is that what you resist will persist. So what you're resisting will always come back, and in the form of nagging thoughts, in the form of actions and events that seem to repeat themselves. Like, what is it that you're doing or thinking which keeps repeating the same situations over and over again? Because really, it really does come down to what we're thinking about. It really does come down to what is going on in your mind over most of the time. What are your most persistent thoughts that are leading you down a road which you don't like? What are the persistent thoughts that are leading you to where you do want to go, to the happy situations? Those are the things that you have to focus on. So quit resisting the things that you need to face right now and do something about them. And keep persisting on the good things that you already see. You've got to examine yourself to find out, well, what is it that I'm doing or thinking, and more likely being, when this good thing is happening to me, and you want more of that, okay? So the third item that I have is about what toxic thoughts are you having, okay? What toxic thoughts do to you. And it's not just the thoughts, it's also the feelings and emotions that are connected to those thoughts. There's an episode called The Man of the People. And this is a story about an empathic. And he always has an assistant with him. And he's supposed to be a really great negotiator of treaties and, this sort of thing. He does peacemaking. And so he's highly regarded, and everybody wants him to be at the negotiating table when they're negotiating with other races and planets, okay? So this guy had a great reputation, and he accomplished quite a bit, okay, on the interplanetary point of view. Now, the thing is that he always had an empathic with him. So he stayed calm. Hi, Gary. So this guy stayed calm because he could transfer his ugly, negative feelings to the empathic, who became a willing sacrificial lamb. But I'm not really sure they were that willing, or whether they actually knew that this was happening, but they should have, right? Because they're empathics. So he managed to transfer all that negativity over. But during this negotiation, early on, his empathic died. And so he had to find somebody else. So this is a Next Generation episode. So Deanna Troi, who is a well-known empathic on the Starship Enterprise, he uses her without her permission. And he starts transferring all his ugly, bad stuff over to her. And so what happens to Deanna Troi? Her body starts to deteriorate. She actually goes into a coma, because Deanna Troi is the type of person who, being a sensitive, but also a very optimistic person, all of a sudden she's inundated with all this ugly negativity. And so she's dying. And so it takes a stroke of genius again to figure out what the problem is to bring her back to life. And it really means that this great negotiator has to stop what he's doing. And because the interesting thing is that the end never justifies the means. So you never use somebody against their will to achieve an end, no matter how noble it is. But when the means are actually out of integrity, dishonest, when they're scary and killing people, thank you very much for that, the ends never justifies the means, okay? So we have to be in integrity with ourselves. We have to be honest. But the thing was that, because I never even thought about that until now, So this was definitely an inspiration to be speaking about this. But toxic thoughts and feelings definitely have a very negative role in your health of your brain and the health of your body and the health of your relationships, all that. So in order to help you, you really need to keep in mind Prime Directive, which is non-interference with other human beings, and to focus on what you are doing. Because, when it comes down to, because when it comes down to it, Star Trek, for a 60-minute show or a 40-minute show with commercials, they performed so-called miracles. But I want to point out one more thing about them. The thing is that was so important about Star Trek is that they exhibited faith that they could get through any difficulty, no matter how bad it was. They let inspiration come to them. They allowed inspiration to come to them because they had steadfast faith that they were going to get out of whatever situation it was that they found themselves in. So there was heroics, there was faith. Really, it's a very spiritual show. And I really recommend that people actually start watching it and start emulating it because we need that now. Well, I think we've always needed it. Quite frankly, we need to know that mankind is good, that we really all want the same things, and that we have to take care of ourselves first. Because if we don't take care of ourselves first, then we cannot take care of the other people in this world that we love. We can't work. We can't be a good husband. We can't be a good wife. We can't be a good parent to our kids. We can't be good siblings. We can't be good mentors unless we really, truly believe that other people are good, okay? Thank you so much. I love you all too. So this week, I want to remind you that if you know anybody who is suffering from a concussion or from post-concussion syndrome, to either pick up one of my books, especially Heal Your Concussion, How to Quickly and Effectively Get Back in the Game, and work the book. Don't just read the book, you've got to do the book. And I've got some exciting news. I'm going to be launching a research project. It's something that hasn't been done yet by anyone. I want to do a research project on a pilot online course for people who are suffering from post-concussion syndrome or PCS, because its time has come. I am sick and tired of looking and reading all the forums on PCS and brain injury, and people are trying this and that, and this isn't working, and so let's try that. Let's have some real direction. Let's use a real healing process. Yes! Great, Tina. Thank you. So I'm going to be asking for your support, and I'm also going to be looking for participants as well. I'm going to be crowdfunding this project. I'm still doing research myself. I'm writing the project proposal so that it'll be accepted, and I'll let you know as things progress, because we really need to do some concrete work on this. We need to give people some concrete steps in order to heal that concussion, to heal that brain injury, because it is now time, and I am going to do it. So this is my public announcement. Okay, so until next week, take care. Think good thoughts, but make sure that you also feel good at the same time, because positive thinking has no effect unless you actually feel good, unless it makes you feel good, okay? Sometimes the book can be overwhelming. That's why you've got to do each chapter at a time. You can read through it the first time, but then you go back and you work on each chapter, okay? And you do it as fast as you want, because some of the exercises are going to be easier, Okay, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to be figuring things out for this project. I'm going to be actually right at 10 a.m. my time, right after my Periscope. I'm going to be talking with a real researcher who can guide me on my process. So I'm asking for help too, okay? Because this is something that I'm not an expert at researching, but I am definitely an expert at clinical results, okay? So I'll be keeping you guys informed as to when all this is going to be finally launched, and I'm going to be so happy when I do tell you about it. Okay? Bye.